Hi, everyone. I'm Norma Loeb, founder of the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center. This video series has been created to bring awareness through firsthand experience of people living with Lewy body dementia, their caregivers, and through expert physicians. This crucial information will be shared with healthcare professionals, with families, and the general public to heighten awareness and to enable correct diagnosis. Please know we are here to help you every single day on our live helpline. I thank you for watching.
At night, he trashed around a lot, and I thought he was just having crazy dreams, and sometimes I would wake him up and I say, what is going on? And he said, oh, a dog was coming after me, or a snake was coming after me. So and this is like, you have to understand, we grew up in the West Indies and dogs were not in-house. They were out in the yard. So if you were passing by, they would start barking at you or something like that. So that's something that I could identify with, and I knew what he was talking about. Snakes, we didn't have a lot of snakes, but I don't know, whatever, he dreamt about that. But I did not associate that with any kind of illness whatsoever, because I just didn't know, At times, sometimes I used to have to sleep further away from him or try to catch his arm if he, in the night when he's trashing, because I'm afraid that he's going to hit me or something like that. And when I tell him about it, he doesn't recall it. And when the neurologist asked me that question, I said, oh, it doesn't happen that much now, but a couple of years ago, it's been happening. So he said to me, well, that's just to let you know that that's the beginning of, the Lewy body dementia.
Because my father's REM sleep issues, I think he broke my mother's rib at one point. I know that when my son was in Florida visiting, my dad had put his head through the wall and wound up in the emergency room. But they sleep in separate rooms because my mom is scared to sleep with him. So,
but then the issue also becomes that she stays up all night listening for him in the other room.
Prior to my husband having the REM sleep disorder, he did have a lot of restless leg syndrome, where he thought he was getting these severe cramps, let's say, in his legs. And so he would ask his doctor for prescriptions for quinine pills. He thought because he was an avid runner that this was just like cramping, but it really was like restless leg. And then the restless leg moved on to the REM sleep disorder, where he would actually get quite violent in his dreams with flailing and, thinking he was running, and then he would run, start running in his dream and run out of the bed and fall down and, hurt himself. So that is how the REM sort of progressed. He would be speaking out in his dreams. He would be actually acting out his dream.
The sleep disorder was a really big problem till they put him on all the medication, because he would kick during the night. He would swing his arms and hit me, and talk all the time out loud, sometimes yelling and everything. But then when they put him on the medications, he still talks and he moves his legs sometimes, and sometimes he'll move his arms. He's a sign language interpreter, so sometimes he'll start signing in the middle of the night with his arms, but it hasn't been too bad.
He would thrash in his sleep. I sometimes would get punched, or his arm would flail and the night table lamp would be knocked on the floor. It was very dramatic. It didn't always happen, but it happened from time to time.
Also, one time he'd also wake up super early, like as he was like, it was almost like he was like running in a nightmare. You know, he would wake up from the bedroom. He would wake up, he would run out the door, and just sprint outside, like right after he had like a nightmare. And I didn't experience this as much as my mom did, but she told me a lot about it. And he would also just play out his dreams as a reality. He like once when I was in 7th grade, he woke up in the middle of the night. It was probably like 2 or 3 a.m. and he just like, he ran into my door. He like slammed it, and it just like, he just slammed into my door and opened the door and just like came into my room screaming. And after that, that's when I got locks on my door. So, yeah.
Ultimately, he would have these dreams and believe them, and he would hit me in his sleep, believing that I did something. And I remember once he had a dream that I was having an affair with a man, and he woke up and he punched me so hard. It was very scary. But that's, you know, a lot of it I block out because it was just so difficult to deal with. But that's what I remember.
Mom's sleeping. She's not a big kicker and mover in bed, a little bit with her legs, but boy, will she talk when she's dreaming. She will talk up a storm when she's dreaming. She will even sometimes scream out in the night while she's sleeping. So nights when she's much more disturbed, she'll be talking much more. So the challenge is distinguishing between, okay, are you saying you need to get up and go to the bathroom and you're awake, or are you just talking in your sleep? So usually she has to get up once or twice, sometimes 3 times to go to the bathroom, but getting her up while she's in that dream state, that's no good. So having aides who are helpful with me to distinguish that. When she's snoring, I know she's sleeping well. So I love to hear her snoring.
Sleep issues are very common in Lewy body, and there are a number of sleep issues. So one of the most common things for people who have Lewy body disease is to act out their dreams, something called REM sleep behavior disorder, or RBD, or there are other names for it. And in this, most people, when you fall asleep, your muscles in your brain have to disconnect. Otherwise, when you're dreaming, you would hurt yourself. Well, people with Lewy body and some other related conditions are more likely to maintain that link between their brain and their muscles when they're sleeping. And so they act out their dreams, punching, kicking, screaming, moving in the middle of the night. Now, many people move a little bit in the night. They'll mumble, they'll talk a little bit. This is separate. This is usually to the point where some bed partner or someone else would actually be able to tell you about the content of the dream. They would understand what that person, or have at least an idea of what that person is dreaming about because of these movements. Now, they can be violent. Sometimes people dream that they're in a fight or doing something like that. So it can really affect the bed partner. And also people can fall out of bed in the middle of the night. They can knock into things by the bedside. And so there are a number of different ways that we can try to help with that, both with different kinds of medication, but also just making the area around the bed a little bit safer. And that's a very, very common feature of Lewy body that can actually happen years or sometimes even decades before any of the other symptoms. And the other very, very common kind of sleeping problem is an increased need for sleep. People just get very, very tired and sleepy. And it could be nighttime or daytime. So some people are just sleeping more and more, hours more during the day and at night than they used to. Then some of the other symptoms of Lewy body can sometimes impact people's sleep. So some people who have hallucinations or delusions, in other words, seeing things, hearing things, thinking things that don't match with reality, sometimes those interrupt people's sleep, and that can be very disruptive to the patient or to the caregiver. Sometimes when people have significant problems with their thinking, they might not understand daytime, nighttime. They might not remember what their schedule is. for people who are in a more advanced stage of illness and they have problems with incontinence, peeing on themselves or soiling themselves, that can disrupt sleep. So as the disease progresses, people can have different kinds of problems with the sleep. And many of these have either more direct treatments, more specific treatments, or can have indirect treatments, things that we can do to help the quality of life of both the person with Lewy body and also the caregiver.